And welcome back to Icons of the Dragon Ball community, where I talk to important members of the Dragon Ball community. And joining me on this edition, a man who really needs no introduction, the top Dragon Ball theorist for the past, I would say, 2, maybe 3 years. Most of you listening to this probably know who he is, and if you don't know, you will know now. The legendary Qaaman from Qaaman's Land. How are you, bro?
Well, what an introduction. Alrighty, guys, it is Qaaman here today.
And I'm bringing you another...
Well, I'm a guest, man. I can't say that today.
Yes, indeed, and thank you for being on. And I wanted to talk to you about, like we do with all our guests on Icons of the Dragon Ball community, I wanted to talk about kind of your history with the series and your YouTube history and kind of let everybody know a little more about you and why I feel that you are a very important part of the community. And the first thing I wanted to ask you about is, you know, a lot of our Dragon Ball fans that certainly are subscribed to you and that we all interact with, a lot of them started watching Dragon Ball Z on Toonami way back in the 90s, but you did not. You have a very different road. You got into the series not even with Toonami.
Yeah, Geekdom, I'll just say that, or I prefer not to say the other word.
You can call me by my real name because I'm going to call you by your real name here because we're going to get to know Quinn here, all right? So go ahead.
Okay. So Danny, the thing is that for me, I actually started off, like, I saw bits and pieces of Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid because I had 2 older siblings who, my dad had from a previous marriage, and they would come over every 2 weeks and they'd bring over VHS tapes. And I remember it was mostly my brother, and he would essentially watch like all of these episodes of Dragon Ball Z. And essentially the weird thing about it is that, like, I would always ask him all these questions. I'd ask my sister, my brother questions all the time, and I would, the annoying little brother thing, but I didn't know much about the series. And then as I got older, you pick up some games like Legacy of Goku, you played the Budokai games, but you never actually saw it because I got cable in my house around 2000. Well, I always had cable, but my cable station didn't broadcast Dragon Ball Z. The Toonami boom was already over. So by the time I got Cartoon Network broadcasting, it was like 2004-05. The Toonami boom was already done, so I didn't get a chance to see it. By the time I got Cartoon Network, GT was on. So what I started doing around like 2004-05, I started collecting the manga volumes because I always wanted to know what the story was, and I never had a chance to see the actual cartoons. Obviously, I learned a decent amount about the story through the video games, and then I basically just read the manga piece by piece over 2 years. I eventually collected all of them, and then I started collecting some Dragon Ball ones, and then I eventually got the whole Dragon Ball series. And, around this time I was role playing, and, the internet, became a lot more popular. So I started watching stuff online, and, and watching online, you watch some episodes online. They get bits and pieces. And then I started collecting the remastered sets. And until I collected the remastered sets, I never got a chance to see like the full series as a whole, not just counting the manga, like the actual anime.
So you never saw the anime on TV. You just saw it on home video.
Maybe like like an episode here or there, like way after I'd already known what happened, but like never when most kids did around my age range. And I'll give you guys a hint, I'm in my early 20s. And so basically I didn't get the whole series. I learned Dragon Ball really weird. Like, I learned it like partially through games, mostly completely through the manga. Then by watching like some shows later on online when I started getting, more adapted to the internet. And then nowadays, obviously, I had to go back and watch Dragon Ball. So I actually saw Z first before I saw Ball. And then,
well, most people did.
Yeah, exactly. So I basically had like a very, very weird, I guess you could say, way that I figured out the whole series as a whole. But I actually saw GT before I saw Ball, ironically, too.
That's actually not that uncommon either. So, but you read the manga before seeing the anime.
Yep.
That's very, 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 not strange. It's very unique for a fan in North America to have done that. Very, very strange. Now, do you enjoy the manga? And also, in your opinion, for people out there who either want to be a Dragon Ball tuber or want to have a podcast or just consider themselves a hardcore fan, how important is it to read the manga versus just watching the anime, in your opinion?
I actually think it's actually more important, and only for one reason only, Danny. And the reason I say this is because I feel like the manga illustrates what was originally supposed to happen. So I feel like if you read the manga, you automatically have a different outlook on the series, because with the additional profanity, with the different types of things that the character says, obviously, Danny, we both know that you really don't have a choice, which company you're going to read the manga from, because Viz is the only one that did it in English. And if you want to read like what was originally said in Japanese, you're going to see these fan translations, because no company ever did it, out of my knowledge. If there was, I don't know.
Fan, yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, with that said, I feel like if you look at the manga, it gives you such a different perspective, like, with the additional swearing, like Frieza telling Gohan, can I curse on this?
Of course.
Yeah. Like Frieza telling Gohan, you better save your own ass. And, just things like that, I feel really add towards it. And also statements too, like, for example, and like major things, like when you look at like the history of Trunks, and you see how like future Gohan was killed in a completely different way than he was in the anime. Little things like that like kind of made me confused. And you could imagine, especially when I was really young, you can imagine how I felt, because I forgot to add this, Danny, that my mom also did buy me some VHS tapes like every couple of months, and I would watch like 2 or 3 episodes. You know how they would slide in like 3 episodes on a
Oh man,
VHS tape.
3 episodes on a tape, $25 at Suncoast.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So I mean, so in addition to me, reading the manga, I did like watch a good amount of VHS tapes, but never like the consistent whole thing. And like I would be confused, because I remember when I saw the history of Trunks first as the special. So the way Gohan died was, when they were shooting him with those machine gun energy blasts, and then when we look at the manga, I'm like, wait, what? This isn't how it happened. And then I'm looking at how like Trunks was a Super Saiyan before Gohan died, and it was really confusing to see all of these different things. So I feel like reading the manga really gives you the original sense of the series.
And do you think that has helped you as far as your knowledge of the series goes? Because I think a lot of people I think a lot of fans just watched it on Toonami. They bought the orange bricks, and all of a sudden they think they're these experts, and they never read the manga, never even looked at the manga. And do you think that they're lacking?
I wouldn't say lacking, but I would say that they're.
I mean, to me, if you're going to go around spouting Toriyama this and that, you should at least take the time to read what Toriyama actually wrote and drew, right? That's the way I always saw it.
Yeah, and especially, because of the fact that most people who would just associate Dragon Ball Z as like its own separate entity, it's actually a part of Dragon Ball. Like they were, obviously BLACKENFIST did the whole story about the origin of the Z and all that. I'm not going to go into all of that, but essentially they're one series. And if you look at the manga, it gives you such an original sense of what was originally supposed to happen, and all these different anime changes came after. So I personally look at the manga like the Bible of Dragon Ball, and everything else happens after, because that's what was originally supposed to happen. So if you have a knowledge of the manga, I feel like you have knowledge of like the original series, in my opinion.
Let's get inside Quinn's head here. Before Dragon Ball, now obviously your channel, you did Yu Yu Hakusho videos in the past. Did you find
Yu-Gi-Oh.
and I'm sorry, Yu-Gi-Oh, not Yu Yu Hakusho. You're going to be doing now. I got them mixed up.
Yeah, I did some Yu Yu Hakusho videos in the past, only like a handful though. But I'm getting back into it.
So, did you get into Yu-Gi-Oh before Dragon Ball, or was it just your channel started as a Yu-Gi-Oh channel?
Very funny story. I'll make it brief.
We got time.
Basically, what happened, Danny, is in high school, and I'm giving a huge clue as to what my age is now. In high school, I was a big Yu-Gi-Oh guy, and I started up like my YouTube channel like in late high school, late 2011. And
you definitely gave it away now.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, bro. And we're gonna get to that in a minute.
But the thing is that I would say high school was the point in my life where Dragon Ball was probably the least prevalent in my life. And the reason I'm saying this is because in middle school, it was really important, because I used to role play, and like I used to act like I was Teen Gohan. I was in this group called the Sons of Liberty, like this guy named Nick Nukem 7, and like
Metal Gear.
Yeah. So, I mean, we would basically literally just like, just like act like we were Dragon Ball characters, and we would role play fights and stuff. So, because Gohan was originally my favorite character. And, So I basically started off with all of that stuff, and then like in high school, girls and a new group of friends. A lot of my friends weren't really into Dragon Ball. I still liked the show. I still collected the remastered sets and watched it from time to time, and I reread the manga every now and then. But like I would feel like high school is where my interaction with the Dragon Ball series was really dormant because I really didn't have anybody to interact with. I was still a huge fan of the series, as you could tell, and I was still pretty knowledgeable, for a high school kid. Obviously, I know a lot more now than I did then.
But what you're saying is by the time you were in high school, the series had kind of ended already and it was already past its
Yeah,
prime.
I still loved it, and there were
Yeah.
some friends who liked it. But the main thing is, I just didn't have anybody to really talk about it. When you have groups of guys who make a living off of making videos about it, it's completely different than just being one kid in high school who liked it with maybe one or two friends. Mr. Doctor, Professor Sir, and another friend of mine whose name I'll keep anonymous for his personal reasons. We were like the only two people at my high school that actually had like some interest of Dragon Ball Z at a more than average state. So when I looked at it like that, I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh at the time. I played really competitively with Mr. Doctor, Professor Sir, and a friend of ours that I'll refer to as Mr. J. And
Not Super Jaiyan though.
no, but I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, and and quite honestly, Danny, I don't want to sound egotistical, but I created a YouTube channel because I found that a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players were really bad, and I felt that I could beat them, and I had a really competitive deck that I built from scratch. I didn't use the same type of decks that everybody else was doing. I built something from complete scratch that was dominating people online, and I was like, well, these guys are terrible and they have thousands of subs. I could be better than them, and I dominated for like 2 years on Yu-Gi-Oh, and then I quit because the game just got too broken.
And yet you said you could be better than them, and yet Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't even you didn't even ride the Yu-Gi-Oh wave to the top. It was Dragon Ball that had really, when you started doing Dragon Ball videos, that's what really gave you the big push to now becoming a successful YouTuber. And I know you're a very modest guy. We're gonna peel the curtain back here, folks, on the real man here. He doesn't like to talk about this, but you have made a success on YouTube. You've been able to put a down payment on a vehicle, and that's good stuff. Like, to me, there's nothing to be ashamed of, in my opinion, of somebody who makes videos, works hard at them, because I've seen you do it 8 hours a day. You dropped the video, you deserve to be paid for it. You took the money, you put a down payment on a car. That's a great thing. That's hustle. I mean, and everybody who I'm talking to in the Icons of Dragon Ball series are hustlers in one way or another. When did you really know that the Dragon Ball thing was the way to go?
Ah, I love telling these stories.
I know, that's
All
why
right,
you're here.
So basically,
He loves talking about himself, folks.
come on,
A fake laugh.
but
Come on, dude.
Daddy, you're something else. But the thing is that when I looked at Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, I did that for like a year and a half on YouTube before I even thought of doing a Dragon Ball video, and it didn't work out. It was really unsuccessful. I gained like 80, 90 subs over a year and a half, and I made Yu-Gi-Oh videos relatively consistently. Obviously, I obviously didn't have the skills of video editing as I would today. Obviously my audio wasn't as good. I didn't know how to edit things as well. But then I just started saying, hey, let me just do some AMVs. I did a couple about some characters. My friend was telling me, Mr. Doctor Professor, so he's like, AMVs are dead. Why don't you try to do something else? Because like, I did AMVs, and AMVs were like something of the mid 2000s, and when everybody spammed that stupid NDN song. So
Oh, God.
yeah,
I did one nobody ever saw.
so after that, after Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't working out, I did some Pokemon videos, just some like 5 or 10 or something like that. And then I said, you know what? Why don't I try something new? AMVs weren't really getting views. Pokemon videos weren't really getting views. Yu-Gi-Oh videos weren't getting views. So I was like, fuck it. Why don't I just talk about Dragon Ball?
Now,
And
before you go any further, I just want you to real quick talk about the landscape of YouTube back then, because nowadays we have tons of us, expert games. Dino Rhyme sounds like huge. Back then it was a different animal. I mean, who was around back then? Like just Vegito 1089 and like Darth and the one guy, and then like Unreal. Like there wasn't that many people out there, right? That was
to
about it,
say
right?
the truth, I mean, I didn't even really watch, with the exception of Vegito 1089 and Super Saiyan Goshin 4.
Oh yeah, that's right.
those were like the only two relatively notable Dragon Ball channels out there. There really was nobody else. Dino actually did make videos back then, but he was nowhere near as popular as he was back then. I obviously wasn't anywhere near as popular. BLACKENFIST, did a few videos himself too, but like we were literally nobody. So in terms of notable guys, it was literally Vegito 1089 and the rest of the world. Like he was like, I always call Vegito 1089 like the original DBZ tuber. I guess if you count for Neverworld, because he did do a good amount of Dragon Ball videos, but so when you look at the Yu-Gi-Oh thing wasn't working out. I said, why don't I try this little power level thing, like accurate power levels in the Trunks Saga. It was a horrible video. I didn't know what I was doing. It was the first time I tried to edit a video like that. It was a bad video. And then I said, why don't I just talk about something that's always been itching me? And it was, why wasn't Future Gohan stronger? And I've always like thought to myself, I felt that he should have still taken out those androids. 13 years is way too much time.
It is.
And then I looked at the stuff about the Majin, like who's the strongest Bui, even though my opinion on that video has actually changed. And then I talked about what if Goku fused with Gohan into Gokhan. And then I just did like a bunch, like a video like once every couple days. I still didn't have a lot of subs. Jax Blade found my channel. YouTube's outlook changed. You remember when they changed like the YouTube out, like you wouldn't have to put a layout anymore. Now you have banners and everything like that.
Yeah, once the algorithm changed, that's when you had told me this before. When the algorithm and YouTube change, that's when you noticed a big burst in subscriptions and in views.
I don't know what it was, but they said that it will help people make it easier to find your channel, and that's definitely true. I started getting subs, obviously not to the level I do now, but for that time, like I was getting like 10, 20 subs a day, which was huge for a guy who, went a whole year with only getting 80, 90 subs. So, I started growing more. I started doing more videos. And then the year ended off. I wanted to end the year off with a bang. And I did my alternate timeline theory. And I ended off 2013 with like 6,000 subs. Now, that might not sound like a lot because I actually gained more subs. On average, Danny, I gained like more subs in a month.
Yeah.
So think about that. Like I was such an underdog that I gained more subs in a month on an average month, or actually a below average month. I gained more subscribers than what took me from 2011 all the way to the end of 2013. And 6,000 subs was a boost in confidence. It really increased my level of knowledge. And I met BLACKENFIST. We did some videos together, and I was like, all right, well, let's just continue this. And then 2014 is when I felt like I became a serious YouTuber. Like I actually started trying to monetize my videos, put better thumbnails, try to upload more frequently. Like 2014 is where I feel I became a YouTuber. 2013 and before, I was just a guy who just made videos.
And I want to talk about this because I think a lot of people don't know this story. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna expose a lot of stuff here. Not anything bad. This is actually a good thing. You, like I said earlier in this interview, you were able to make enough money from YouTube to purchase a car, which you really do need in this day and age. I actually, before I did YouTube, I worked for a website called Opinions, and I also used money from that. The website's dead now, but they paid me. I used that money to put a down payment on my first car. So we kind of relate on that one. But the one thing that people listening who have been your followers for years that they may not know this, in fact, I'm pretty sure they don't know, is that even though you are doing very well right now financially through YouTube and you are working for it, there was a time when you had to eat shit because you were blacklisted.
Oh, you wanted me to talk about the blacklist story.
We gotta talk about it, and I think this is good advice for up and coming YouTubers about being blacklisted, because yeah, you might be doing well now, but you did have to eat shit. And the thing I noticed about a lot of successful people in the world is that there's a time when you eat shit before you actually make it.
Yeah, good point, Danny. I guess I could start off by saying when I first became a YouTube partner, I was with AdSense for a very short amount of time, maybe like a month or two. I barely remember. It was like from July. And I had a hard time monetizing my videos. Like I monetized like 6, and I was basically making money off of like 6 videos. Keep in mind, Geekdom, this is around the time, or I'm sorry, Danny, this is around the time where some of my more popular videos were like hitting the high 100,000. Sometimes, like I think I had like 1 million million view video at the point, which was like the Goku's mother thing. So I was getting a lot of views on those videos, and I wasn't making a penny off of them. And YouTube kept rejecting my videos for monetization, and they didn't let me monetize anything. And I kind of didn't even care about that. And I'll be honest with you guys, like I'll make videos, but money and time is what's important. Like I'll make videos, but the only reason I think I deserve to get paid is because of time. Like I'm wasting a serious amount of human time on Earth that I'm never going to get back.
Yeah, you're literally spending 8 to 12 hours daily on these things in many cases.
So when I'm spending so much time, it's like if I'm not going to get paid, it's like, well, I mean, I'll still make videos, but I'll make it on my own time instead of, being more diligent about it.
And what you're saying is that if you weren't getting paid, you'd do maybe one video a week versus doing
I'll do it on my own time. I'll still upload videos, but like, honestly, and Danny, and for anybody who's watching this, don't let people bullshit you guys. YouTubers make videos for money and for the love of it. I think this is the funnest job on earth, but would you really spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of editing videos for nothing, not a penny? That's too. And for those of you who might be kids, you might not understand this because kids have a lot of time. But when you get to being an adult, a full-time college student, a person who works a part-time job, you get to a point where it's like time is valuable. You start realizing you don't have as much time. So when you waste your time, and Geekdom's is not a big fan of wasting his time.
Hell no.
So yeah, like when you waste your time, it's like, what am I doing? And I felt like I was wasting my time. I was making all these videos, putting so much effort, and I'm not getting anything out of it. I love the fans, I love the comments, but it's like, this isn't like, this is stupid. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm getting all this good feedback on my stuff. I deserve to get paid for it.
Now, before you go any further, because I'm sure people are asking this, how did you end up getting blacklisted? It was because you used footage. Am I right on that?
I have no idea. I have a theory that I tried to monetize some videos, they rejected them, and then they kept them. After they rejected one, it was like a domino effect. They rejected like everything else after that. It was and if I put gameplay footage, reject. If I put a picture, reject. Everything.
Yeah, they definitely put you on a list. They just kind of handcuffed you, is what it was.
Right. They rejected me for anything I did, and then at that point, I kind of was just uploading on my own time. But then after that, I talked to Rhyme Style. And, this was around the time I met him, like more like late 2014. He told me join a network, and I did. And the monetizing thing went away. It literally reset like all the monetization settings. And that was probably one of the best things. I commend Dino for convincing me to join a network.
Now, tell the truth. When you first got that YouTube check, how did you feel? The truth, bro.
It felt really good because, I felt like I got what I deserved, It pissed me off that I did so much good stuff. Like, I'm talking about videos like Alternate Timeline Theory. All of these videos that at that point had hundreds of thousands of views, I never made a penny off of them. And it pissed me off. That's thousands of dollars that I never got a chance to get.
Yeah, that you deserved. In fact, like I've said before in other videos, I think that YouTube kind of underpays in many ways. I think
they do.
Definitely. I think it should be a much broader pay range because, dude, these things, it's making them more money than it's making us, dude.
Yeah.
It is. So let's talk about like your videos and kind of like you as a man, bro. So one thing that I've gotten to know you now for about, I'd say 4 or 5 months, and one of the things
it's been that long.
about 4 months or 5 months. Yeah, it has. And it seems like longer. But the thing about you is that before I knew you, I knew Super JAYAIN. And, Super JAYAIN and I would talk about like different YouTubers and who we liked and who we didn't like. And the thing about you is that we had always talked about how great your timeline video was and your theories and things like that. And but when we met you, here's the big secret about Qaaman that a lot of people might not know. And the reason why I say people might not know is because Zeon didn't know this and other people who I've spoken to didn't know this about you, is that I feel you're actually more knowledgeable than you actually give off. And I'll tell a quick story for those who don't know. I'm sure none of you know this actually because it's a private story, but when I put up that Who is Frieza video, I kept getting a lot of a lot of bull, and I still get it. People criticizing the way that I say Saiyan, which is the right way. And I remember talking to you about it, and just one morning I'm just ranting. It was actually like 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm ranting about how fucking stupid this community is and how they're so close-minded that they don't hear the message I'm giving them. I'm telling them all this information, and all of a sudden they're too stupid to actually understand what I'm telling them, and they're gonna sit there and say, "Oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Did you see the video? Obviously, I know what I'm talking about better than you." Okay, point blank. And you told me, you're like, "I think you should dumb it down." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And you're like, "I think that," and then you kind of explained to me that the audience that watches YouTube videos are mostly dub fans, and they're not going to really get it. And even though they are rude and they can be assholes sometimes, if you change the way that you say things to the dub terminology, you will be able to attract more people. You said that to me, and I thought about it, and I said, well, the thing is, you're right, but I can't do that completely because I can't sell myself out because I know it's wrong. And I also want to attract the non-dub fans, because the reality is that the dub fans are there, but there's a whole group of fans that despise the Dragon Ball Z dub and that hate the changes. So what I started doing after you had said that to me was I took a piece of your advice. Rather than just say Kienzan, I started saying Kienzan, also known as Destructo Disc in the dub, and I think it's helped out. And where I'm going with the story is that I think that, that morning you were talking to me about that, and you were like, "You don't think I don't know what Kame Sennin is, what Muten Roshi is?" And you start naming all these Japanese terms, and a lot of people who have only seen your videos would have no fucking clue that you know these things, because you never say those things in your videos. You see what I'm saying? They just think you're a dubby. People listening to this now know that not only did you start off with the manga, which is very opposite of 90% of the fan base in this country, but you are very familiar with the Japanese terms.
Right.
Now, the thing about you that I've learned is that you're a very intelligent man. You're a very knowledgeable man, and you're very intelligent, and you are a logical thinker. And I think that a lot of that, and I think you're very underrated. I think that you're a young guy, and I think certain people who are older than you might, and this is very common, they might just think that you're just this dubby kid, but you're not. You actually study all aspects of Dragon Ball, even though you haven't watched Z in Japanese yet all the way through. And Jay wants you to watch it real bad. You know what I mean? But you have done your homework. And I want to talk about the theories and the logical here. So, your brain works in a very logical way. And I think, and I'm not going to reveal too much here, but I think part of the reason for that is because of your dad, who, I'm not going to give away what he does or who he is, but your dad comes off like a very studious man.
Right.
So that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's just say that he's a well-educated man. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Do you think that rubbed off on you?
To some degree, because I mean, I used to, well, and it's also a combination of like my mom too. Like we used to like debate and watch a lot of news and stuff, and like I'd hear like people of different, I guess you could say, mindsets arguing certain things, and then I'd hear like my dad like finding all these points to criticize him, and I guess I kind of picked it up from him, but like I didn't care as much about certain things until I got older, like I'd hear a lot of people saying incorrect things, and I didn't say this, but one of the reasons I decided to talk about Dragon Ball is because I found, like, as a kid, like all these different forums and stuff about Dragon Ball. A lot of people were saying these things about, who's the strongest, Majin Buu and things like that. And like, I was like, well, it can't be Kid Buu because Gohan's way stronger than Kid Buu. And it was just all these things, like all these little things that, I guess you could say led to that. And, the whole thing about me is like, some people might think that I'm just a guy who's familiar with the anime and stuff, but I read the manga first, and I'm aware of a lot of the main things that are in Dragon Ball. The reason why I don't say it is because you have to know who your audience is. And I understand that most of my audience is not familiar with the Japanese stuff, but I'll educate them, and that's why all the time, similar to what you say about like the titles, that's why every single time I'm making a video, I say like, however, in the manga, because I'm always trying to educate people about both sides. I'm not trying to keep them just strictly with the anime, and if I say something that's anime, I'm making sure it's anime only. Like, because
Yeah,
I'm
and I
trying.
do the same with the Japanese version. I want to I
Exactly.
want to bridge that. Yeah, go ahead.
So I just want to make people like aware of both sides, and you just got to know who your audience is. You know, I understand that a lot of kids might not have grown up with Dragon Ball the same way I did, so I have to kind of educate while still sharing my opinions on certain things at the same time.
So, as a theorist, all right, because I hate to say it, but you kind of are the king of the what ifs. I mean, I know that sometimes you don't want to be pigeonholed as that, but that's kind of what has kind of been your bread and butter. And I would say some of the biggest videos you've done have been the what if videos. Like, have you come to terms with that? Like, when did you actually realize that, okay, this what if thing is pretty much my bread and butter, or is this shocking to you now?
Well, honestly, Danny, I mean, I guess you could say that I'm most known for what ifs. That's probably like the biggest sector of my Dragon Ball videos, but I've never looked at it that way because I've done a lot of other videos that have had videos in the millions and high hundred thousands that were not what ifs. So I always
Yes.
looked at
Yes.
myself as just a general Dragon Ball discussion guy that just happens to have his most popular videos as what
Yeah, well, you're,
ifs.
you're a theorist because even your
Yeah.
time travel video is a theory. It's a
Yeah.
theory. So, like, are you into like science? Like, are you kind of into just kind of looking at things from a scientific perspective?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I,
take us through. Go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
no, no. That's all I was saying.
Take us through the people listening and me. Take us through the general process of creating a theory video. Like, what is an average lifespan of a video for you? How is it? Like, do you sit there, like, for example, let's use one as an example. What if Piccolo killed second form Frieza, which is a video that you did. Do you just kind of just sit there and just think every possible outcome, or like do you script it all out? Like, take us through kind of like how the creative process.
Good question, Danny. I guess the first thing I have to do is I gotta identify it as a good topic, and I think one of my weaknesses as a YouTuber, is the fact that I'm too picky with topics. You know, for example, like you did a topic, Danny. What if Krillin killed Nappa with the Kienzon? And you did it, and I thought it was a good video, but I never did that video, and I thought about that for months in advance. And the reason I never did it was because I was too picky. And now it's not like now it would be too late if I were to do it unless I did it on my own opinion. And the reason I didn't do that topic is because I was like, well, after Krillin kills Nappa, it's too ambiguous for me to make a good judgment as
It's
to
too
what's
much
going to
head
happen next.
canon. It's too much
Right.
head canon,
And if
right?
it's too
Yeah.
much, I can't go off of it. Like, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of people want me to do more what ifs, and I love doing what ifs, but I don't think a lot of people see the process that I go through to do these what ifs. I don't just think of these things. Like, I have to like think, is it actually a logical thing? And the thing is with that Krillin topic, if Krillin killed Nappa, let's use that as an example. If he killed Nappa, what's going to happen next? Well, is Vegeta going to wait for Goku to get there, because Goku's still not going to get there for a little while, or is he just going to get pissed off and kill him?
It could
Like,
be either one.
it could be two either one, and there's not enough evidence for me to lead on one side. In most cases, I have enough evidence to lean on some sides, and I always have a reason for everything I say. For example, like when I did my what if Piccolo killed Frieza in his second form, I got a lot of heat, Danny. I told you I got a ton of heat, by people on that video saying I was wrong when I said that Piccolo would have killed Vegeta. But I'm saying, if you look at what he said in the manga, if you look at what he said in the anime, and if you look at the circumstances, and if you look at the fact that Piccolo is not the same character as Krillin, it seems logical that Piccolo would kill him after he finishes Frieza. And another
Not just
thing,
that, but also he absorbed Nail, and Nail has a hatred for
exactly,
Frieza or for Vegeta because Vegeta killed a bunch of Namek. So
ex-
yeah, yeah.
exactly. And I had a lot of people saying, and that, as a matter of fact, Rhyme Style actually had a very unique opinion on this, because I asked for his feedback, and he felt that Goku would tell, Piccolo not to kill Vegeta. And
That's
I
very
thought,
possible.
that's a good point, but my argument was taking in personalities, and I said, well, Piccolo's not the same person to Goku as Krillin is. Krillin was his best friend growing up. They have a different relationship. Piccolo has a seriously higher tendency to not listen to what Goku would say, especially Goku, who's so far away. He's not going to listen to him, and that's why I said, listen, these are my reasons as to why I think he would kill Vegeta. People thought I was a Vegeta hater. Vegeta's my third favorite character. I like him more than I like Goku, but, you know, other people could come up with those opinions. So when you look at it like that, you got to identify what is this topic something that could be talked about for an extended period of time? Is it a logical topic? Like Mike is a little bit different for me. He looks at his what ifs more as what if they just happened. I look at it more of the lines as how would it have happened for this to take place?
Go. Yeah.
Like
so if somebody asks you, for example, just an example, I've seen people ask you this. They'll say, what if Goku never met Bulma? That's an impossible topic because you're literally changing the entire series. So they're basically asking you to write a new series, and that's not what you're trying to do.
No, I'm just trying to see how it would change the series. And the thing is, Danny, is I'm always trying to base my what ifs from the perspective of the Z Fighters. I've been asked before, what if Goku died in Namek's? What if Goku died in Planet Vegeta's explosion? Well, I don't know how I'm going to answer that question. Do you want me to base the story off of the Z Fighters minus Goku? Well, it's too hard to judge everything that's going to happen. It's kind of like a butterfly effect. One thing leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to another. Anything can change. And if you just say, well, Goku dies, well, I don't know, because Goku literally interacted with so many people that created the series.
So,
you know,
yeah.
And it's things like that. So that's why I think my what ifs are the hardest to do, because I have to. It's not just that the topics are harder to come up with. It's just like I'm really picky with them. You know?
Yeah, but I've seen you do a what if while we talked or whatever, and you do like literally script them out, and then you're thinking of different possibilities, because there's so many different, when you're doing a what if, there's so many variables you have to put into play. Like the one that we talked about recently was the whole what if Piccolo had killed Radix and Goku had survived, holding on to the tail. You know, that changes a lot, because then there's no Kaioken, there's no Genki Dama. Vegeta and Nappa may have never even shown up, but then you got to worry about 19 and 20 or 17 and 18, whoever. So you have to literally look at the whole story. So why do you think that what ifs are so popular? What is it about what ifs that people just gravitate to? I did do a video called The Causality of Dragon Ball, where we talked about kind of the it's a one of Dragon Ball in depth, about kind of like the Aristotle and the whole mathematics behind it. But why do you think that these things are so big?
Danny, it's very interesting that you ask this question, because I actually relate this to another group of videos I do, like my super predictions, and I asked my subscribers in the comment section, why is it that because Danny, you've noticed my predictions get significantly more views than my reviews.
That's weird to me.
And
yeah,
I was confused. I tag them almost the exact same way with some differences.
It's because you're a theorist, bro. I mean, that's kind of your thing. I hate to say it, you are a theorist guy.
But the thing is like I was trying to figure out, like, why do my predictions get more views than my reviews? Because I would think that the review would be like the thing that everybody would want to watch, and then a prediction would be like a little thing that, you know, people are like, yeah, okay, Qaaman's predictions. But no, like, people actually care more about my predictions. And from what I was seeing in the comment section, they were saying that everybody does reviews. BLACKENFIST, you, Jay, everybody does a review on every super episode. So when people look at my super reviews, they're just going to look, oh, what did Qaaman say that was either somewhat different, you know, from everybody else? What did Qaaman think of the episode? That's what they look at my reviews for. But when they're looking at my predictions, they're saying, well, what does Qaaman think is going to happen? Because that's a very, very unique and very specific thing that I can give. Like, if what I think is going to happen in an episode, it can vary for any person. And I think the difference in the variables is so high. When I look at an episode, I look at it, I share my thoughts on each aspect of it, and then I break down, you know, how I would rate the episode on a 1 through 5 scale. I don't like using 10. You know, and that's basically it. Like, I share my thoughts and review, but with the prediction, I'm sharing what I think is going to happen. It's kind of like a what if episode kind of thing.
Yeah, so what you're telling me is that you believe, and this kind of does make sense, that a larger portion of your subscriber base care more about you, and this is going to sound a little bit weird, they care more about you as a storyteller than they care more about your thoughts on something that could happen versus your thoughts on something that already did happen. Like, is right?
Yes, Danny, that's very funny you're saying that because I've looked historically on my views and some videos get, better reception than others, but I have noticed that because I've done a lot of informative videos that are not theoretical, like how
Yes.
strong is Future Teen Trunks, who's the real Hercule, like things like that. And for those, people care about what I said, but they're watching it to learn, whereas to kind of think of like this whole hypothetical thing. And here's the perfect example of looking at it, Danny. Look at the game theorists. Why are the game theorists so popular? Because they basically take whatever little knowledge they have of a video game, or a lot of knowledge, and they
Yes.
compile it into a theory. And I guess you could call me kind of like the Dragon Ball theorist in a way. Like
That's what
I'm
I said.
to a much lower scale, obviously, than them. They're a much bigger channel. But I mean, I kind of look at it in that sense. Like, people care about all these theoretical things a lot more than just factual things.
So
And that's how that's why I felt that originally me and Blackenfist made a good partnership, because I felt that I was a lot more theoretical and I felt that he was a lot more factual, even though I still have done a ton of factual things.
yeah, and that's the thing about Blackenfist. Like, you've told the story before about how you met him and things like that. And this year, 2015, has been a complete paradigm shift in Dragon Ball. This has been the most unique year for Dragon Ball, I would say, in forever. I mean, this is even bigger than 2013 when Battle of Gods was announced. A lot of things are going on in the community, and I wanted to ask you about some of the peers here, because you grew to 100,000 subscribers. You're over that now. Before a lot of us did. Like, I haven't hit it obviously yet, and I don't know if I ever will, and that's fine. It's whatever. We'll see what happens. But you chose to work with Blackenfist because he's more of an informative guy. And you said before that you are picky with who you work with. What is it about, for example, Dragon Ball Nation? How did you find him, and why did you choose to work with him, the Beanie Bop?
Dragon Ball Nation or Blackenfist?
No, Dragon Ball Nation. The Blackenfist story you've already told.
Yeah,
Dragon Ball Nation one is the one I'm curious about.
he was a weird situation because he was one of my most active subscribers, and that's something that I'll tell you guys. Like, I do read a lot of my comments, and Danny, you've seen a lot of the comments. I can't respond to
Too
everybody,
many.
but I respond
Folks,
to a good amount, and I do read a lot.
This man gets 17,000 Ask FM questions and
21,000.
21,000 now. When I first met you, it was 17, and it's just impossible to answer. It really is. So
Well,
here's the thing I'm going to say real quick. If you're going to go on Quaman's Ask FM and you're going to ask him a bullshit question, you're literally wasting your time, because you're probably not going to get it answered, and B, when he gets to it, it's going to be a bullshit question anyways. You know what I mean? So you just ask a good question if you're going to ask it, and then wait a long time, because there's a lot of questions.
It's funny you say that, Danny, because I know that you have a tendency to you love answering those.
I love answering them. The thing is, I have less than you, way less, and I still can't keep up.
You have fun answering them.
I do, but once you hit like 1,000 questions, it's impossible to keep up. It really is. But to your point about Josh.
Yeah, so like I was saying, like the most active subscribers, like if you comment a lot, I'm going to notice you. Like that's the only way, because the thing is
you opened up a can of worms now.
No, that's fine. I love people commenting, because the more they comment,
the more you show up in the search results.
The more they comment, the higher the chance I'm going to see it. If you never comment, I'm never going to see you. I don't know who you are. Out of the hundreds and thousands of people who watch my videos, only certain people comment. I mean, Danny, if you look at the proportions, like, for example, like one of my more popular videos was, okay, let's think of a video that has a very high comment ratio.
The biggest one is Superman Goku one, right?
No, that's not the highest comment ratio. The highest comment ratio was actually a video that had less views but more comments. It was the Goku versus Sonic. That video has like 220,000 views, but it has 14 to probably like 15,000 comments. Now, that's actually an extremely high comment ratio per view rate. But if you still compare 15,000 comments to 220,000 views, it's not even close. I mean, I'm looking right now, to give a better example, I did a report card video and I asked people to share feedback. 8,559 views to 330 comments. So that's telling you that the amount of people who watch it versus the people who comment is so drastic.
Well, also people watch it multiple times, and you have the people who don't have accounts. Yeah.
But no matter what case it is, you'll always get way more views than comments. So the thing is, when I looked at it like that, I said to myself, Josh stands out. That's how, as a matter of fact, you're saying this about Josh, but it's basically the same story as BLACKENFIST. But BLACKENFIST was commenting on my videos when I was really small, like when I had like 80, 90 subs. And back then back then I was so small that I actually got a YouTube message every time somebody commented. That's how infrequent they were. So Josh was really frequent in the comments. And then one day Dino and Thundershot got him on a Skype call. I talked to him. He seemed like a pretty cool guy, and from there on, we had some differences in our views, and I thought he was a cool guy, and I just started making videos with him. And same thing for you guys. It was,
Well, I wanted to get to that story, all right? Yeah. Let's talk about the story. So, why... Now, I'm not going to have you blow smoke up my ass here, suck it, but, all right, well, I'll tell the story because people are probably wondering what really happened. I'll just tell a quick, short version of the story, and that's that I kept hitting Josh up. Josh was our connect, and then one night, BLACKENFIST, well, I guess it wasn't him. I guess it was Josh himself, invited me into that group Skype chat. And then we went from talking about Dragon Ball to eventually everybody else dropped out except me. And then we wound up talking about what would you do if a burglar came into your house and you had a gun. That was literally the conversation we had. And then we started talking about relationships. And then it kind of became like, okay, like now I'm getting to know the man Quinn, not Qaaman. Like, cause to me, bro, look, I'm gonna be real, 100% real. This YouTube shit, it's just YouTube. It's not anything. I care more about the man Quinn than I do about fucking YouTube, bro. Cause you're just a fucking guy who makes videos. All right. I'm just being real here. There's tons of people like that. You're very talented, but Quinn the man is a unique person. Very unique person. And but the thing is, you and I, you kind of wanted to make a video the next day with me specifically. But I wanted to ask you, what was it about Jay and Mike, who were kind of in my trio, and myself that made you want to do videos with us, considering that we were so freaking small back then? We were tiny back then.
Honestly, like I've always said before, if I see talent, I'll make videos with it.
Or why'd you do a video with Mike? No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
But if I see somebody with upside or a nice person, I'm a very I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but Danny will do it for me. I'm a much nicer guy than a lot of YouTubers are.
You're almost too nice. That's the problem.
So most people, like when I hear people saying I'm an asshole that never reads comments, it's like, damn. Like, but the point I'm trying to say is like I'm a nice guy and I'm all down for meeting new people. I felt you guys were a cool bunch of guys. The thing with Mike, he was a bit different because Mike was... I had talked to Mike many times before, like through private messages and in the comment section on Facebook, but I didn't know that was him. I didn't know his name was Mike.
I found him through your Facebook, so in a way you connected Mike and I, and then I connected you and Mike. It was very weird.
Yeah, it was funny because he was messaging me from years behind when I was really small, so I never knew his name was Mike. I won't say his last name for his personal reasons, but like
everybody knows by now, but it's fine.
Well, yeah, I didn't know his like actual name. He made me a thumbnail and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, that's his name. So like, oh yeah, that's the guy that I kept talking to. And then you too, I had responded to you sometimes in comments, but I didn't know that you were Geekdom. Things like that.
I want to talk about that though, because that makes me laugh. That night that we had first talked, I remember I got the invite on Skype, and then I saw BLACKENFIST, and I saw you in there, and obviously I knew who you were, bro. And the first thing I said was, well, isn't this a pleasant surprise? Like, I didn't know what to say, and I was quiet for the first half of the conversation. And then, like, about 4 or 5:30 in the morning is when fucking you realized who I was. And I'm over here thinking, oh, okay, great, they know who I am. And I was like, fuck. And I was a nobody back then. I really was. I mean, you definitely helped expose, in not in like a naked way, but you helped expose a lot of us to to your, certainly your subscribers.
Right, and I'd do it again. I mean, you guys are cool guys, like, and you guys know what the hell you're talking about. Jay was different because I remember, I don't remember if it was you or Mike, but it was late at night, and
I
you
brought
added him
Jay
to the
in.
call. Yeah,
Yeah, because
and
Jay was my original partner.
yeah, so and I was talking to him. I was talking to him the whole time where I was editing a Just Do It video,
That's right.
and that took me, like, yeah, guys, believe it or not, it did take me like 6 hours to edit a 1 minute video. I know it sounds bizarre, right? But to get the perfect timing, and I
I
had to
remember that
crop
day,
him
man.
out
I
and
remember
get rid
that
of the
day.
green screen and do like all those little things that took like about 6 hours.
I went to bed and you and him kept talking because he's Australian. He's on the Australian time.
Yep. So yeah, I just talked to Jay. He seemed like a pretty cool guy, and I don't know. I just like, he's a nice guy. I'll talk to him again.
Jay was a big time skeptic, man. He'll admit this himself. He was very skeptical of you and your knowledge. And then when we finally talked, and that's the thing, he's very modest, bro. Because when we finally talked, he was like, okay, well, this guy knows enough. Like, he's not. Again, I think people just think that you're just theorist guy, doesn't really know anything. Not anything, but I think we were both very surprised at some of the gems that you were talking about that night. So there you go. So we're gonna wrap it up, man. Let's talk to get out of here. Let's talk about the future of Quaman's Land. You're starting to do Yu Yu Hakusho videos now, more in-depth ones. Is Quaman's Land going to remain a Dragon Ball channel? Are you going to expand into other things? You started doing Twitch. Just curious about what your goals are now for Quaman's Land, not the YouTube channel, but Quaman's Land, the brand, whether it be Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, anything.
Very good question. I mean, I'm still keeping it a secret, but I do have a project queue that's on, that's under works right now. When that comes out, that's definitely gonna be a big thing. But besides Project Q, I mean, I am looking to expand. I've never said this was a Dragon Ball channel, and Geekdom has made that very clear himself too. He's not a Dragon Ball channel either. We're just mostly known for it, and the way I've had it planned for my upcoming schedule, I'm going to try to upload every day. I can't do it every single day because, I mean, sometimes stuff happens, or sometimes some videos take a lot longer than I underestimated. But my plan is I'm going to try to do a video every week, and I'm going to do one Yu Yu Hakusho, one Dragon Ball discussion. So you're going to get 2 highly edited videos a week. You're going to get my super review and predictions, and then other than that, you're going to get a Q&A on Thursdays. Excuse me. And then you're also going to get what I call like wildcard Wednesdays, like any video that I just feel like doing. Like sometimes I just feel like doing a video on a playthrough, sports video, anything. Wednesday I could upload anything I want, and it could also be a day to take a break. Sometimes you need a break, and then
Yeah, and for those who, just real quick, I just want to add to that. Quinn does go to school. This is, YouTube. You are doing well, but you have other goals outside of YouTube, when you graduate and things like that, where you might have a full-time career. I'm just letting people know that this is, you are busy,
right. And then I also look at it like, my Twitch. I mean, my Twitch stuff. My Twitch channel's grown, it's not that big yet, but I have 1,300 followers on there, and I'm just trying to, get that up and, balance out everything along those lines. So, Twitch, YouTube, everything's working out.
All right. Well, everybody check out Quaman's Land if you haven't. I'm pretty sure at least 90% of my subs and people who watch this video, well, I'm hoping this video actually gets outside of my channel. That's the whole purpose of these interviews, so that people can kind of come together. Check out Quaman's Land. He's got videos that I'll never do. A lot of us kind of, that's one thing I don't want to get into. I'm going to talk about this with Rhyme Style a little bit more, but a lot of these people on YouTube kind of do the same thing, and we all have our super reviews. That's one thing, but like, you have, and I'm not going to name any names, but you've got other people doing what ifs that pretty much stole your ideas. I'm not going to name no names. You've got people doing theories every week. Your theories are different because you don't theorize, will we see a burst limit 3? That's not what you do. You do theories of existing material, and you do theories that I can't do because my brain is kind of more like BLACKENFIST as far as like being just talking about more of the logical stuff, and yours is more of a what do you call that, like informational? Yeah, informational versus theoretical. Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
that timeline video you did, I've said for years I wanted to do something like that. You beat me to it. I can never do that video and match that quality, so I'm probably never going to do it.
Yeah.
Unless something like happens with time travel again in Dragon Ball, which I don't think it will. So yeah, everybody check out Quaman's Land. And what message could you give? What tips before we leave? This is the last thing. What tips would you give to up and coming YouTubers who might be listening to this, or people who want to do like podcasting or anything having to do with not just Dragon Ball, but just anything as far as projects go? What tips would you give them? Even though you're a young guy, you've had a lot of success very young, and hopefully you won't turn out like John Jones, coked up and hitting pregnant women. I hope that doesn't happen. But
Well, let me just first start off by giving a shout out to Mr. Dr. Professor Sir, who helped me edit, my alternate timeline theory and my if Dragon Ball Z was real, which actors would you choose? Yeah, besides that, I guess the biggest thing, Danny, and this is gonna sound cliche, but don't give up because guys, there were points where
yeah,
I almost gave up. I mean, I don't think a lot of people really factor in how my channel really transformed over 2 years. I mean, Danny, do you know what it's like to go for a year and a half to not
without
even
getting
get a
laid,
hundred
no.
subs? A
Oh,
year and a half,
oh.
a year and a half without getting any subscribers to going from getting that in half of a day or less. Like that's such a drastic drop off. The fact that from 2011 all the way to 2013, I gained like 5-6 thousand subs. I gained that I gained more than that a month, and it's like the fact that my channel has grown so much, it inspires me to keep working hard because I feel like my hard work's paying off. And I definitely don't feel like I'm new to YouTube anymore. I'd say 2013 I did feel you new to YouTube.
I mean,
24.
just to, I don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt you, but just real quick, I think anybody who has 100K who's not a celebrity is pretty much a veteran. I mean, that's the way I always see it. Even if
Yeah.
you started a year ago, just because that's such a big number. I mean, it's not easy to get there.
Yeah. And I just work on the little things. I did a face reveal video where I talked about some other stuff that I'm sure Danny will leave for you guys to check out some more tips. But I'd say the number one thing is just don't give up, because if you give up, you're never gonna succeed, because the people who have succeeded in life tried. Not everybody succeeds, but I tried. I tried my Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, didn't work. I tried my Pokemon stuff, didn't work. I tried my AMVs, it didn't work. I tried my Dragon Ball discussions, it worked. If I never did that, I probably would never be where I am today, and I also wouldn't have the ability to expand into other things. If I started off with sports, I probably wouldn't be where I am now. But I have enough Dragon Ball fans that if 5% of my fans like sports, that's good enough for me. So it's little things like that.
Inspirational words from Kwame. All right, well, thanks everybody for checking out the interview, and I'll catch your asses down the road.
And please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a
A
great
great
day,
day, guys
guys.
and girls, especially the girls.